The Nile flowed like a silver ribbon through the heart of Egypt, carrying with it stories older than memory. Its waters reflected the blazing sun by day and the endless stars by night, and along its banks, civilizations rose and fell, leaving behind monuments that still whisper across time. And among these ancient tales, the stories of the pharaohs shine brightest, rulers whose power was absolute, whose gods walked beside them, and whose secrets are buried deep beneath the sands. Imagine standing at the edge of the desert as dawn breaks. The air is crisp, the sky painted in streaks of rose and gold. In the distance, pyramids rise like frozen mountains, their tips catching the first light. The air smells of mud and river reeds, of incense and burning oil, and the distant cries of workers echo across the sands. This is Egypt, a land alive with mystery, ambition, and the weight of eternity. Among the earliest pharaohs was Narmer, sometimes called Menes, the first to unite Upper and Lower Egypt. He walked through the newly unified land with a crown atop his head, representing both crowns of the Nile. His soldiers marched in formation, their bronze weapons catching the sunlight, while priests chanted prayers to the gods, seeking blessings for the new kingdom. Narmer was not just a king. He was a symbol of order, a living bridge between the mortal world and the divine. Centuries passed, and the pharaohs became larger than life. They were builders, conquerors, and priests. They constructed temples that reached for the heavens, carved hieroglyphs that told stories of victory and devotion, and wove their lives into the very fabric of Egyptian culture. Yet their power came at a price. The lives of thousands of laborers, the endless sacrifices of wealth and time, and the constant vigilance to maintain order in a land of vast deserts and shifting rivers. Consider Khufu, the pharaoh of the Great Pyramid at Giza. He dreamed not merely of grandeur, but of eternity. The pyramid was his statement to the world, a monument to his glory and a tomb for his soul, designed to withstand centuries. Millions labored for decades, dragging limestone blocks from distant quarries, carving passageways so precise that even today their perfection baffles architects. And when Khufu finally passed into the afterlife, the pyramid would stand as a gateway between worlds, a beacon of immortality. The pharaohs were believed to be gods in human form. Ra, the sun god, was said to travel across the sky during the day and descend into the underworld at night, guiding the souls of the departed. The pharaohs, as Ra's chosen, performed rituals to ensure the sun would rise, the Nile would flood, and the land would remain fertile. Their words were law, their actions sacred. Every grain of sand, every brick, every scarab placed in a tomb carried the weight of divine authority. Among the pharaohs, Hatshepsut stands out, a woman who ruled as king in a world dominated by men. She walked with dignity, adorned in royal regalia, her face painted to reflect divine authority. She commissioned temples carved into cliffs, built trade routes that enriched her kingdom, and left records that proclaimed her achievements for eternity. Yet even she could not escape the politics of the court. Rivals whispered, priests plotted, and history itself tried to erase her name. Only the monuments she built and the stories she left behind defied time, ensuring her voice was not lost. The Nile was both lifeline and mystery. It provided water, food, and fertile soil, but it could also flood unpredictably, swallow villages, and drown entire fields. The pharaohs learned to respect it, to predict its moods, and to honor the gods who controlled it. Festivals celebrated its bounty. Ceremonies offered prayers for its mercy. Every year, as the river swelled and receded, the people felt the pulse of the land itself. And then there were the tombs, vast, hidden, and eternal. The Valley of the Kings holds pharaohs who thought death was merely a transition, a journey to another world. Tutankhamun, the boy king, was buried with treasures beyond imagination, with chariots, jewelry, and statues to accompany him in the afterlife. Yet centuries later, his tomb lay hidden, preserved by the desert and the sands, waiting for explorers to reveal its secrets once more. It was not just the living who shaped Egypt. The dead whispered through hieroglyphs and preserved tombs, teaching lessons of power, devotion, and mortality. Every carving told a story of battles won and lost, of gods appeased, of families who ruled and fell. And those who listened carefully could hear them, like echoes riding on the wind, speaking across time. One night, under a crescent moon, a priest named Imhotep walked the temple corridors. He was more than a priest. He was a scholar, an architect, a healer. He paused to touch the stones of a newly completed pyramid, feeling the cool, smooth surface beneath his fingers. He whispered prayers for the pharaoh, ensuring the god-king's passage to the afterlife. But deep in his heart, Imhotep felt a secret wonder. Could the mortal and the divine truly meet? Could a man, through devotion and craft, touch eternity itself? And so the stories of the pharaohs were born, tales of ambition, devotion, love, and loss. They remind us that even in a world ruled by gods, humans carve their place in history. From the smallest servant to the mightiest king, every action rippled through time, shaping a civilization that would endure in memory, in legend, and in the sands themselves. The Nile flowed silently beneath the stars, carrying the whispers of kings, queens, and builders alike. And if you listen closely, when the desert wind blows gently across the pyramids, you might hear them, soft voices telling of glory, of mystery, and of a kingdom that believed it could touch the eternal. The desert wind whispered secrets across the golden sands, carrying tales of pharaohs long gone but never forgotten. The Nile flowed, relentless and eternal, as if preserving the memory of an entire civilization within its waters. And beneath the scorching sun, amidst the towering pyramids and sprawling temples, life continued in a rhythm that had endured for millennia. The pharaohs were not just rulers. They were living bridges between the mortal world and the divine. Their lives were a tapestry woven with power, ambition, and devotion. Among them, Ramesses II, known as Ramesses the Great, exemplified the grandeur of ancient Egypt. His armies marched across distant lands, expanding the empire's reach, while his monuments soared into the sky, proclaiming his glory for eternity. Yet even in his strength, he understood the delicate balance between man and God, life and death. Temples dedicated to Ra, Osiris, and Isis thrived under his reign. Priests chanted prayers in sacred halls adorned with hieroglyphs depicting victories, offerings, and divine interactions. Each symbol, each stroke of paint, was meant to ensure the pharaoh's eternal journey. The mortals who served these rulers knew that their devotion was not just loyalty, it was survival. The gods watched, and even the smallest misstep could invite wrath upon a kingdom. In the shadows of these grand monuments, however, whispered stories of rebellion and intrigue persisted. Courtiers schemed, ambitious heirs plotted, and foreign envoys negotiated behind layers of secrecy. The pharaohs, though seemingly immortal in their power, were often at the mercy of human ambition. And so, Egypt's history was as much about the unseen conflicts of the court as the visible triumphs of the battlefield. But the Nile never forgot. Its waters carried the legacies of kings and queens alike, ensuring that their stories persisted beyond mortal attempts to erase them. Every flood brought fertility to the land, every harvest a reminder that life and death were intertwined, and every sunset over the pyramids painted a silent chronicle of power, devotion, and mortality. Beyond the grand palaces and monumental tombs, ordinary Egyptians lived lives entwined with these stories. Farmers offered sacrifices to the gods before planting crops. Artisans carved statues and jewelry to honor the pharaoh, and scribes recorded events in meticulous hieroglyphs. In every corner of the empire, the influence of the rulers was felt, whether through law, religion, or the sheer awe inspired by their monumental works. Even in the afterlife, pharaohs sought to continue their influence. The Book of the Dead guided souls through the treacherous Duat, the underworld, ensuring that each step brought the deceased closer to eternal life. Amulets, Charms and incantations protected them from demons and pitfalls, while tombs were filled with treasures meant to sustain their spirits. Kings were not merely remembered. They lived on, in stone, in story, and in the hearts of those who revered them. Among the countless legends, the story of Tutankhamun stands out. The boy king ascended the throne as a child, surrounded by advisors who shaped his rule. Though his life was short, his tomb, undiscovered for centuries, became one of the most significant archaeological finds of the modern world. Gold masks, chariots, jewelry, and statues, each item a link to a past that refused to fade. When Howard Carter finally opened the tomb, the world was reminded that Egypt's magic, its mystery, and its pharaohs' enduring power still whispered across the sands. And then there was the everyday magic, the small miracles that kept the people connected to the divine. Festivals celebrated the Nile's flood, offering gratitude for life and sustenance. Priests performed rituals to honor the gods, ensuring balance between the mortal and divine realms. Every action, no matter how minor it seemed, was part of a grand cosmic order, a rhythm that had persisted for thousands of years. Yet, despite their divine status, the pharaohs were human. They experienced fear, love, grief, and ambition just as we do. Their mortality was hidden behind gold, stone, and myth, but it existed. And this is what makes their stories timeless. The merging of the human and the divine, the fleeting and the eternal. Now, imagine walking through these ancient lands as night falls. The Nile glimmers under the starlit sky, reflecting the lights of temples and pyramids. A gentle breeze carries the distant echo of chants and prayers. Somewhere, hidden in the sands, lie the secrets of pharaohs who dreamed of eternity, of gods who shaped the fates of men, and of a civilization that continues to captivate imagination centuries later. Thought balloon if this story of gods and kings, of pyramids and eternal rivers, stirred something in you. Leave a comment below and share which pharaoh you found most fascinating. And don't forget to subscribe. The next story will take you even deeper into the mysteries of ancient civilizations. Crescent moon. The sands shift, but the Nile flows forever. The pharaohs sleep beneath stone and time, but their whispers remain, carried on the wind, calling to those who dare to listen. And as you close your eyes, imagine standing on the banks of the Nile, feeling the pulse of a civilization that believed in immortality, and let the stories of the pharaohs guide you into dreams.